What is going on, everybody? I'm Jeff from Jeff Needs Sports, and this is the Buckeye Remix. Another good one this week. We love the victory remixes, if you will. A great High State win over Toledo Rockets, in-state rival, another in-state rival, so to speak. That I forget what the record is, but Ohio State's fared pretty well against teams from the great Buckeye State. So, basically it boils down to this. The Buckeyes looked like they were running an offensive practice Saturday night, 77-21 victory. Not that there weren't deficiencies. We'll talk about them later, but overall, a very solid win. Offense was just way too much for Toledo. They had Buckeyes had 763 total yards. I mean, they had 482 passing yards, 281 rushing yards, just almost a first down per play, 9.8 yards, just a absolute dominant performance on offense. It was fun to watch. On the other side of it, the defense, I know the numbers look great and everything, but DeQuan Finn just gave him fits. Shout out to him. One of the funnest players I've seen this year, in a losing effort. He came out of the game early, it got hopeless, but great job by him to keep his team in it for a few minutes. It was pretty cool. The other side of it, the other quarterback, CJ Stroud, absolutely unbelievable what he did. He just, it was kind of defied reality. I mean, he's 22 for 27, which was really good, but 367 yards off of that, off 22 completions. Jeez, 5 touchdowns. He was throwing it in tight windows. He was hitting open guys. He was throwing fast. His footwork again looked amazing. Like he looked ready. My takeaway from, as far as the CJ side of it is he definitely looks like the most, this has nothing to do with the High State season, but he looks like the most NFL ready quarterback, in college football. Just the things he does and the angles and he throws the ball, the trajectory, the speed, just everything about it looked great. The wide receivers got to have some fun, like Buka, Harrison. Those guys are just unbelievable talents. Why they were rated so high coming into Ohio State. They've proved it. Some of the catches they made, some of the tackles they break, they're just unreal. I would say that Cade Stover, shout out to Cade Stover, another good game, 3 catches for 83 yards, but those are huge chunk yards that I think we've been kind of missing for a few years, out of the tight end position or whatever you want to call his position, that kind of other type of receiver outside of the superstars we have on the outside that fills those holes and slides into those gaps that teams leave in zones trying to cover these guys like Harrison. Stover's been there. There's some huge catches. So really been a good part of the offense and something that, if anything's been missing from the offense, which not much, it's been one of the best in college football for a while. He's there. So, shout out to him. Another great game. The running game went crazy. I'd say the star of the night outside of, the obvious, Dallin Hayden, got some work at, I will say, backup running back. I think we consider mine and Travion, kind of co-starters. Hayden comes in and just runs all over the place. Just, if there's one thing that Toledo didn't need, it was the backups to come in and go at it like that. So, that's why you recruit the way you do. That's how it pays off. Shout out to great night for him, 108 yards, a touchdown, 6.4 yards a carry, so on and so on. And it just never stopped. I mean, nobody had a bad night, so to speak. Overall. So just overall, it's exactly what we expected. It looked good. It was a fun night game. The weather was great. There wasn't much to take away from it. I know Toledo's supposed to be a good MAC team, but Ohio State, I don't think any of us are going to sit here and say that we're at the level to what we're worried about how we compete with good MAC teams. Like if that's how we're judging them, then we're in trouble, come November, when things get real. So good, solid victory. Got most everybody out of there at halftime. Yeah, let's mention again, CJ did all this work in about half a game of football. Unbelievable night for Stroud and the receivers. Just crazy. McCord, another good game. You know what I mean? It's like he came in and did what he needs to do as a backup, looked pretty good. So another congratulations to him on another good game. Just all around, there really no negatives on the offense. We'll talk about when we get the grade card. So yeah, just it was fun to watch. The season really heats up this week against Wisconsin. We know that things start getting serious. We know the intensity ramps up, the expectations ramp up. Got a lot of things. This team's not perfect. This team's really good, but this team is far from perfect, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So we'll talk about the defense a little bit. So, they got exposed a little bit in the early, with Quinn. How our Finn. Sorry about that. How well we ran, kind of exposed the defense as far as like here's the it if you want to call it an issue. Yes, the defense looks better. They have given up way less points than last year. I understand they're ahead of where they were this time, but they're also not perfect. They're making mistakes in the secondary. Not the penalties weren't bad this week. Very few. I think we only had, I believe, the Ohio State had one penalty, something crazy like that. Um, if I'm going to check my stats here, but I'm pretty sure that Ohio State had one penalty, which is amazing. So we cleared up some of the pass interference stuff, but that was probably the standout stat. Yeah, one penalty for 5 yards on Ohio State. So you can't ask for anything more than that. But still, I think this defense is predicated on confuse the quarterback at the line of scrimmage, give him different looks, disguises, all that, and then get him uncomfortable, get him out of the pocket. Well, they did all that. The problem is like you got to be ready on the back end, and that's what I worry about in the future. They cleaned it up, a little bit, and I understand that Finn was on a mission, but this is how we got to judge it. We did watch it. The first, I don't know, 20 minutes of this game were a little tighter than we thought it would be because of we were letting their dynamic quarterback get loose. So that's something you got to work on. You're going to play good quarterbacks. And so if you're going to get them out of the pocket, you're going to send extra guys, like you got to be able to tackle. You got to be able to cover in the secondary for 5 or 6 seconds while this guy's running around looking for somebody, things like that. So that is things that need worked on. But again, they're light years ahead of where they were last year. But I don't think they're quite as ready as even their stats say. But we'll see this week. Again, Wisconsin will be pretty tough test, and if their offense is on, we'll definitely find out something about the Ohio State defense. But we're going to say that every week until the end of the season. Like this defense has so much to work on and so many different parts and moving parts that we're not going to know much about it until 6, 7, 8 games into the season, if not later. So that's how it's going to be. It's just going to be a running theme every week that we're going to be like, we got to find out more about the defense. So that's how that's going to be. So we'll get to the grade cards. There's not much about this game. We don't need to drag this out. You guys know that, it was half a game of great football, one of the best offensive performances of the season. So there's no reason to belabor that. So we'll start with the offense. I gave him a straight A. They really didn't do anything wrong. When you go back and watch the first half of that game, which is all that really matters, just everything was just almost perfection. Can't give him an A+ just yet, because if I give him an A+ on this, then there's no room for him to go up. But they played as good as any offense in the country. They played as good as they can play. Again, Stroud looks the part. He looks amazing. Receivers are coming. They're figuring it out without Njigba. So they're only going to get the receiving quarter is only going to get better. Running backs are starting to kind of feel it. And I feel like the Hayden thing wasn't a fluke. I feel like he could be part of this offense if need be. So that's awesome to have some depth at running back for a change. I thought the offensive line looked pretty good, especially with some of the stretch plays, which I was impressed with that. A lot of times we play these, what do I want to say? I'll just say early season opponents, and you know what I mean by it. They'll have a guy that plays out of his mind against our quote unquote 4 and 5 stars, and this guy beats him up. And so it wasn't really like that the other night. The offensive line held their own, so I was happy about that. But so I gave the offense an A. They were awesome, and I don't know what the A+ will look like. Maybe no incompletions, but we'll see. Defense, we kind of talked about it. Gave him a B-, and I know that's harsh, and you say that look at the second half, but Toledo also pulled their quarterback too. So I think it's fair to say that they could have scored again if Finn stays in the ball game. And I think giving up 21 points and a half of football, like that's something. I know that we've talked about it. When you have that many possessions and you're giving the ball back, a team is going to have more chances. But the fact of the matter is, when the defense was out there, they give up 21 points to the starters, to Toledo. So we would be naive to sit here and say that a good team couldn't score that many or more, and then maybe hold them to less. So like, it could be tightened up. So, and I talked about all the reasons. I still think there's some uncertain. There's just uncertainty. There's hesitation. These guys aren't playing 100% instinctual yet. Defensive line does look great. I'm not saying that, but they're not. They're not constantly putting the quarterback, on his back just yet. They're a little hesitant, still missing a few tackles, but overall they look better. But they I'm probably more concerned than a lot of people, but it is nice to see that it's a work in progress and that things are going the correct direction. Coaching, I actually gave an A this week. This was a week that could have easily played, I don't know, a lethargic game, the quote unquote overlooked game with the Big Ten season starting, took it for granted. No, they came out and played pretty crisp, clean football, especially offense. I mean, one penalty says it all. Like, they were ready for the game. I thought the offensive game call was pretty good. I mean, you got to call a lot of passes, when you have a quarterback and the receivers. Like, we talked about it last week. They're not just going to run the ball, 100 times just because they can on Toledo. You don't keep recruits that way. You don't have fun that way. You don't win in November that way. So that's never going to happen. So I thought it was a pretty good called game. I mean, you wound up with, pretty much even, you know, stat as far as balanced stats. I'll say they're balanced, not even. They're never going to be even. Modern football teams just, you're always going to have more passing yards. So overall, I thought it was a good coaching performance because they were ready. They came out. They didn't get blindsided. They didn't look bad. They didn't do something goofy early to get themselves into some weird hole that everybody starts talking about on Twitter. Like, they came in, scored 28 points in the first quarter, which, was going to be almost being basically enough to win the game on, most games. So can't say much more about that. I thought they were ready, and I thought they looked good. And I'm very optimistic about going into the season, about where they're at as a team as far as concerns and worries and doubts. The less doubts than I had last year. I would say for sure. So overall, great performance by the Buckeyes. I know I was hard on you. Don't take it personal. That's just, I grade you very tough because I know how awesome you can be this year. But it was great. It was fun, and I can't wait for this week in Wisconsin. I hope to be there. Hopefully, we're having another victory remix next week, and talking about how much fun we had and at the night game and the blackout and so on and so forth, and how Ohio State looks like a national title contender. That's the prognosis. So we will see. So that's me. This is Jeff Needs Sports. Get it anywhere you listen to podcast. You can find me on my Facebook channel. The videos always go up. YouTube channel, they always go up. And go check out Off the Ball Network. Doing a lot of stuff over there. This show is, a part of that too, as well as my show. Appreciate everything. Appreciate, all the likes, listens, reviews, interaction, everything. And, all the Buckeyes fans out there, it's awesome to talk to you and dissect some of these games and have these conversations. It's been a lot of fun. Should be a fun year. It should be one that we can remember forever and really enjoy. So I'm looking forward to it. So as the Big Ten season starts, I know it's going to get much more intense and much more critical. So we kind of enjoy these first three games, 3-0. That's what they had to do. So that's all we can ask, right? So that's it. I'm Jeff for Jeff Needs Sports. This is the Buckeye Remix, and we are out. Go Bucks.